Crack on then. Evening, everybody. Gaz here. Hope you're all well. Where are we? Yeah, Wednesday evening, aren't we? Webinar time. Just have to bear with me a little bit. First time doing it. I am a webinar virgin, so we'll try and keep the technology as simple as possible. Just got to chat tonight about your catalogues. Quite often, I think the retail side of the business is sometimes overlooked. Not massively so, but just little fine-tuning things that you can do to help you maximise your order potential and maximise your customer database, and particularly important for those new starters. To chat about keeping hold of your catalogues, why it's important, and at the end I'm going to go through some figures that will the difference in following up your catalogue properly and the system that we advocate as a team. Hopefully you can all see the there. So yeah, retail. I mean, retail is the lifeblood of the business. Without it, there is no business. Clean Easy has a very proud and very successful 90-year history of sourcing reliable and desirable products, pricing them effectively, and selling them to the network. Whether you want to go back to the days of people carrying suitcases with demo products, or the modern day online catalogue methods. Whichever one you want, it's a history that we should be very proud of, and definitely the one that's not to be ignored. I turn the mic up a little bit, Dave, see if that's any better for you. The thing to remember is that if nobody ever retails, if nobody sells any product, then nobody earns a penny. You can sponsor 100 people who sponsor 100 people. If nobody puts out any catalogues, nobody will ever earn a penny. When you're looking at people who join this business, and the majority of people join this for that little bit of extra income, or because they need a quick source of income, and there is no better way to do that than by cataloguing and the retail side of the business. It's what provides that immediate cash in their pocket. It might be that much needed lifeline that people need to get themselves out of trouble or to afford the things they want. Yes, we all know that the sponsoring side of things and the residual income side of things is the future of the business, if that's a route that you wanted to go down, and it's how the huge sums of money are earned that a lot of us aspire to. I don't think, the bottom statement there saying the higher income equals a lower attrition value, I think this is something that right from the top to everybody would agree with, is that if you've got people earning the money that they want to earn, whether it is £200 a week or £20,000 a period, wherever your level is, whatever your desire is, if you are one of those people earning what you want to out of this business, you won't walk away from the business, which leads to a lower attrition rate, obviously. Something that I know a lot of people have struggled with. And again, what I'm going to come on to later is how you can help people achieve those higher incomes, even if it is just marginally over the first few weeks, to show them that the business works and to keep your team more stable. So it is all interlinked. So your catalogues, probably all heard this before. Each catalogue is a shop. These are your tools for earning, so you have to look at it. Each one is like a shop. Each catalogue is a little branch of your business. Not exactly rocket science. More shops, more orders, more income, better lifestyle, more disposable income. Whatever you want to do with it, whatever you want to spend it on, that's entirely up to you. But it all comes from that higher level of retail in the early days. It goes beyond that, though. It goes beyond just the financial side in the pocket, particularly for those guys just starting out, and for anybody who's ever sponsored in the business. You will experience at times, maybe yourself or with new starters, where people have had a poor pickup in their first week or the first week or two, and it's happened to everybody, absolutely everybody in the business. And it is a killer. It is horrible. It normally happens on the worst day of the year when it's chucking it down or snowing, and you go out and you're dead excited, you pick the books up, and you get absolutely naff all from your collection. Very frustrating, very disheartening, difficult to pick yourself up about. Again, if you keep those retail levels high, you follow the system, you do it consistently, that added enthusiasm and motivation that comes from seeing those initial earnings and seeing the improved results again, leads to a higher level of retention and you know, more conviction to continue with your business. Your business, if you're making money, it becomes attractive. So when you're trying to sponsor and you're leading on, if you're making money and you can prove that you're making money and you have a big wedge of order forms or your latest certificate of income from the company for your last period, it adds that credibility. You know, it's very difficult to sit there in front of somebody and say, your business works, it's amazing, and say, well, you know, what did you earn? How much did you retail? Oh, well, nothing. You know, that's not a great way to back it up, really. If you can have that attractiveness and that credibility to your own personal experience, it's going to go a long way. Okay? There with 2 seconds. There we go. So again, I've said it before, I've just said it now. We're talking about the early days in particular tonight, and how following up each catalogue and following up successfully and persistently and consistently is really, really going to make a huge difference to your business. Again, I've seen, and people will back me up on this, Nick and Dave, I know definitely, the number of businesses we have seen finish or fail in those first weeks because of what we call catalogue starvation. So running out of books and not being able to fulfill your full run sheets, or to be able to build that customer base as effectively, because you can't reach as many people, because you're losing books, because you're not carrying, you know, so you're not following them up properly. You know, reinvestment is undoubtedly a part of the business, but it shouldn't be. With the 30-day challenge now in place, during your first few weeks in the business, first few months even, reinvestment shouldn't really be necessary in terms of replacing catalogues, because the incentives are there for you to do it. You know, the incentives are there to keep your stock levels topped up and to keep yourself rolling over. So we talk about the system, and this is something that I learned from Nick and Grace, and I think Dave uses something quite similar as well, though the wording may differ on the slips. The basics behind catalogues, you go out and drop them, you go back, you pick them back up. What I've found, and looking back at my first stats from when I first started 3 years ago, on a first blanket drop, I was getting approximately, a lot of people logging in and out here. Is anybody having problems?
I'm all right now. We just faded a little bit, but it's fine.
Okay, no, that's all right. Yeah, so on my first drops, I was finding that if it's a brand new blanket drop, you're probably getting around about 60% of your books back the first time that you ever go out to collect them, okay? A lot of people, you know, we know the system, we know the term straggler, you know that each time you go around it will improve. But what I'm going to show, and this is sort of quite crucial, is what I definitely did in the first few weeks anyway. Every time you go around, you're knocking those doors. You're knocking the door to see if somebody's in there. You know, sometimes people ignore the people, or they get lost when they come in. If you can see somebody in, or even if you can't, knock the door. Make sure you're doing everything to get each one of those books back. Remember, each one of those books, the next door you put it through could be your next big order, or your first big order. It could be a regular customer. You want to reach those people as quickly and as effectively as possible. So you don't want to be losing any books if possible. If nobody's answering, you should all have a slip like this one, saying we called for it, very sorry we missed you, something along those lines. Please can you leave it out on the doorstep again for tomorrow. Something I added in there is leaving your online shop address there. Everybody should have that set up. If you haven't, you're potentially missing a trick. If you are working a system of a 24-hour turnaround when you first start, some people may not have had time, so point them in the direction of your online shop. You never know what orders may come through for you. The next day, you go back, it's still not out. Now, how many of you did this? How many of you just stopped? And how many of you actually knocked the door again? How many of you put a second slip through saying you're going to go back again tomorrow? Or like Nick and Grace have done, here, can you give us a call? Can you put the orders? You know, you've paid for these books. They are the key to your business. Keep them going. Now, what I really want to do, I'm going to waffle again. Now, HUBA stands for Have You Been Away? A bit of an acronym for you there. It's something that Nick and Grace introduced me to, because when I first started, I was losing quite a lot of books. A lot of complacent people who weren't putting them out on the right day. So there were a couple of variations of slip, but for every single drop, I was doing these. I was going around keeping a record of all my outstanding books, and once a week or once, after every drop, a couple of days after, still not getting change approach a little bit. I used to do it on Saturday, pick them up on a Sunday. It was nice and quiet. Also tended to mean that more people were at home, so you can knock the door and get your books back. Look at those slips. If you haven't got those slips, email me. I'll send them to you. Dave, I'm sure you've got something similar. Mr. Gray can send them over to anybody who wants them. Use them. Really use them. What I'm going to show now is a few little statistics there which sort of show it's an inverse correlation between the amount of times that people will follow up and when sales are made. You should hopefully be able to read these all. It's not a great picture. What it's saying there is that only 10% of salespeople will make more than 3 contacts. So whether this is with a prospect, a customer, going back for an outstanding book, whatever it may be, it's applicable. But if you look at that, 80% of sales are made on the 5th to 12th contact. So everybody who's giving up early, and this is applicable to so many areas of the business and so many areas of your life really in general, anybody who's giving up early, you're missing a trick and you're missing out on the bulk of your success. Again, whether it's with a prospect, whether it's with a catalogue, doesn't really matter. The stats are applicable. And just to highlight it, and this is where you will just have to bear with me. If
the mobile's still on.
Hopefully, can you see that now? Can you see it?
Yep.
Yeah, right. Okay, I can't hear very many people at all at the moment, so hopefully everyone can see this. This is something that I played around with last week, and this is not using anything massively sort of out there, or no dodgy statistics. Again, what we're going off is the 100 books a day. So we're going to look at your first 10 drops and the difference it can make following up your books properly. And it's something that starts to show, it's not a great deal to start with, but it could make a huge difference over time, and you'll see that by the time we get to the end. So we're basing it on dropping 100 books a day, okay? And the first column down here is going to show you what happens if you go back the next day, the day down yourself, the day again yourself, sorry, the next day, the day after, and then the Huber run that we were talking about before. Okay, so and all I've gone off is the fact that on average you get 60% of your books back, round about 60%, and we use the prog standard average of 75 pence per catalogue. Okay, so you can see, if you're following up, the first time you do it, you look at this last column here, 15 quid and 45 quid, just by going back for your books once. Putting one tomorrow slip through, going back, job's done, we'll just leave and we'll just forget about the rest. Okay, now it's only a 10 quid difference over the first one. And then, the person who's followed them up, the person who's gone back and got those extra 4 books from doing the Huber run, you're looking at having 96 books to drop instead of 80. And all of a sudden, even just by your second drop, which could be 48 hours after you start, you're already looking at an £18 or so, nearly £20 difference in your order total. Okay, and again, I'm happy to email this over to anybody who wants to study it in more detail, but I'm not going to labour the point too much. I've got a message from Nick here, so tell Dave to bugger off. And you can keep going. So all the way from up there, you see them putting your books out and chasing them up properly. Putting your books out, chasing them up not half-heartedly, but you're only going back twice. You're not doing the final roundup. Going back, picking them up the first day, picking them up the second day, and then never bothering again, okay? On the fact of this as well, is you've reached the point for your total orders to get to your first 25 books as part of the 30 inch, extra 20 books, and so on and so on. By the time you're looking at your 5th drop, so 5 drops, that could be 10 days, 12 days, 2 weeks into the business. the order total here is now £30 different from just going around and doing those 2 extra collections. You know, if it's in your local area, it's going to take you a very, very short period of time to go back and get those extra books in. But the profit of income available is phenomenal. You know, on your first 5, if you go to 6, it starts to get ridiculous, and the gap widens and widens. I found just when I was that just by doing that extra little bit of work, by going back and doing that Hoover run again and again and again on each drop and putting in the effort, going off the averages which we all know exist and we've all experienced, doing that will receive their extra books and complete their 30-day challenge a drop before the person doing it just going back twice for them. And then you see a huge difference in the earnings. Now, I appreciate that's a little bit complicated at this time. I can quite happily talk through it with anybody who doesn't quite get it, but not to labour the point. The final figures showing what will happen if you carry on collecting, if you carry on chasing up and chasing up and chasing up. Your first 10 drops, that might be your first period. You know, if we're looking at this, you know, say you did 10 drops in your first period, there's your £1,000 retail. You've done £1,000 in your first period. You've earned just over £300 just because you've chased up the books. If you don't do it, if you don't do your Hoover run, you know, 219. I've got to be honest, that's muted. Pretty much. I had £226 in my first period. You know, so yeah, that's pretty much on average. But who wants to be average? The key one, I think, is this, and this is if you just put that one tomorrow slip through, so you only go back, only check your books once, go back for them once and once only, you've earned £363.30. So your retail orders are £306.30. You've earned 76 quid. You've not completed your 30-day challenge. To get yourself back up to the same number of books as these guys are on here, you've got to put 125 quid into your business, which means that you're coming in at minus £48.71. How many people do you think will carry on with their business if they've earned minus 50 quid in their first 4 weeks? I don't see it being very many. You know, the key really, the key message to get across is that your books are invaluable, each and every one. You know, thinking, oh, I've lost one here or I've lost one there. You know, you will lose books. That's an inevitable part of the business. But what I'd say to you is lose as few as possible. Make sure you're doing everything in your power and everything in your time and everything available to make sure that you are losing as few as possible, because it will pay dividends to keep hold of those books and you will end up earning more money. I say, hope that's gone okay. I'm sure Nick will give me some feedback. And like I say, enjoy the rest of your evening, guys. Any questions, feel free to ask. Cheers.
Very good, that. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that.
No worries, buddy.